Hello, beloveds. Before we jump into today's conversation, which is delightful and a real treat, I want to extend an invitation to the summer quarterly retreats that I am offering in July. We have it in person on Saturday, July 12th, and that'll be in the San Gabriel Mountains of Southern California, just outside Los Angeles. And then we'll have an online offering Saturday, July 19th, and that will be on Zoom. So we've got the full day in person, and we've got half day on Zoom. And should you do one of these retreats, well, do you feel like the days just shoot by and you just really don't have a plan and you're just getting by? Do you wish you had more focused time to consider what you're learning and growing? Have you done retreats in the past? You set some intentions at the top of the year. You set a theme for the year or a word for the year, and you're just getting caught up in things and you just need a time to pause and reconnect with your heart. So this is a time of listening, exploration, and embodiment. And that's what these retreats are about. Can't wait for these retreats. Hope to see you there. You can find more information on the website, www.theellebetrell.com/retreats. I'll drop the link in the show notes, but you can get there via the website. These are just a favorite thing that I offer. May you always see the blessing, and let's get into today's episode. Lauren and Sergio, welcome to the LYHL Podcast. It's such an honor to have you here. I'm really excited. This is the first time having two guests on simultaneously. And the reason that you're on together is because that's how I met you. I met you at an open mic in the Los Angeles area. And that was my first ever open mic. And that was I think early February, I'm going to say, this year. And no, it wasn't my first ever. It was my third. Sorry. Just details matter to me, apparently. Let's not. But it's very early on in my open mic career. I've now done 18. Wow. You are both much more seasoned performers, and but I'm so excited to have you. And we had a good time of connection, and I'm very excited to have you on the podcast.
It is very much of a pleasure meeting you that day as well. It was like a long night, and having
it was. It's so true.
It was definitely a long night, and having someone to like talk to without thinking about the time passing. It was good having you that night.
Oh,
thank you.
Absolutely. And, and it's been an absolute pleasure to get to know you and also, for the invitation to be here and join you today. And looking forward to just good old conversation.
Oh, I love it. And, and thank you so much for just even saying I just didn't want to overstate, but obviously I like you. So I have you here on the podcast. I feel like we had just a really you guys put me at ease. I'm just like super appreciative. It was like I'd never been to that setting. I was there by myself, and you guys are just like, hey, come on over. And then we were just like on that couch, like it was a love seat. It was a love seat for three.
Yeah.
All
of us. A lot of love on that seat.
A lot of love on that seat. And you're right. It is a long night. That was like, I had a pretty good draw, but then I was like, oh, I got to stay. And you guys did not have a good draw. So we were, that was a long night, but a lot of fun. So thank you so much. Yeah. Well, LYHL Podcast, Live Your Healthiest Life, based on 4 questions. First one, how would you describe your work and vocation?
You go first.
Ladies first. So I am a singer and songwriter by profession. And I've been doing that for a number of years and plan to continue. Lately, I feel as though my role has been expanding some into more of the health and healing space. And so I'm really curious to see how popular music can be used as a modality for helping people to be healthier in body and mind.
All right.
Okay, I love it.
That sounds
Okay,
good.
That sounds good, right? Yeah.
Yes, yes. For me, when it comes to describing the work or my vocation, first I will go back to when it really started. It was 13 years ago. I mean 12 years ago, and I had a strong feel about it. I studied banks management in college, but at a certain point, I just dropped out because the call was so strong about music that, and somebody helped me in that sense, showing me the way, and I'm very much appreciative of that. And it is something that I use to help myself through difficult times and inspire other people as well to help them if that is useful for them to help them go through stuff in life or get themselves together. And yeah, so that's how I would describe it. Thank you for the question.
No, I love it. So you are both my first, described singer-songwriters. I guess I had one individual. He said, yeah, like musician, artist. I'm remembering, and I'm feeling I feel it's a bit remiss that I didn't talk about the song that that I witnessed you share. And I think it was the day that we met. I think was the day that it dropped.
It was the night before.
Yeah,
the night before. The night before.
Oh, it was that night?
It was that very night.
Yeah,
right,
it was okay. See, there we go. And Glimmers, right? Is the name
That's
of
correct.
the track.
Yes.
So both of you talk here about, and Sergio even used the word calling to describe this connection to music, to creating songs, to crafting it. And that song just is like beautiful on so many levels. There's the lyrics, and we can definitely link in the show notes or whatever you feel comfortable with sharing with our guests. It was such a song about hope, and your vocals and just how it was done was really beautiful. And
Thank you.
And to hear you describe that this is being done with intention is really, really meaningful to me, especially I think you called it popular music, right? Like to take that, that message, just making it accessible, right? So Lauren, can you tell me more about this intersection that you see of the writing, the songs, and the wellness and the health? Like, how can you tell me more of your backstory with that, or what's kind of this driving force for that?
Yeah. Goodness. I've been a professional singer and writing songs since I was a child, since I was a teenager. I've been working actively in the music industry since I was about 13 or 14 years old. And and for me, music is one of the universal languages, and it's the thing that it becomes the soundtrack of our lives in a lot of ways, and it helps us to get through various things. There's something about a well-written lyric and a melody and how it meets a chord change that helps us to process our emotions, and also helps us to enjoy life a little bit more. you can throw on, Michael Jackson, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, and I guarantee you someone's going to start dancing. There's just something about it. It's just like, oh yeah, that feels good.
And so,
and so, it is a holistic modality, because it's not just your ears that are listening. You're listening from your heart, you're listening with your body, you're listening, with your spirit, on a soul level. And and I just feel like, because music is so impactful and so universal, why not be intentional about using it to help people process life? Everybody's experiencing some level of pain, or some level of discomfort. Everyone is striving toward better, whatever that looks like for them. And, why not use this universal method or mode to, give people some encouragement along their journey. And even more so, like I've been reading up on, I'm not a scientist by any means, but, whether you're looking at it from a quantum physics perspective, or, about how, frequency and energy impact the cells and the brain. Like I'm really interested in, like, how can we integrate, these really tangible healing modalities into music that people really want to listen to and actually get enjoyment from. Because don't get me wrong, I love the more traditional, healing types of music, the music that's used for meditation, or, in spas, or, or, even if you're going back to more, indigenous roots of music, and, the culturally specific, sonics that we get from that. Not to discount any of that stuff, because it all is very healing. But there's also something to be said for, music that is mass consumed, because whether we're aware of it or not, the music that we listen to is affecting us. I've always heard, like, words create worlds. And so the things that we repeat to ourselves often, the things that, that we replay, often find their way in some way, shape, or form into our reality. And, so I don't know, I think my logic is like, well, if that's the case with, music that might be, even harmful to, the body, to the mind, to, interpersonal relations, then why not counteract that with music that is intentionally, healing and healthy and encouraging and uplifting? Why not be intentional about that? Because we need that, I think. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, I agree. Sergio, is that, you talked about, like, the calling and wanting to inspire people. So Lauren, I love like Lauren's describing, well, there's so many ways you could approach music, right? You could say I'm a singer-songwriter and have, like, a genre or an instrument, or are you a vocalist, or what? What's your experience, Sergio, of, like, your relationship to your songwriting?
Well, I heard Lauren talking about Michael Jackson earlier, and it just brought something back in my memory. Like, on that couch on my 25th birthday, it was in 2014, and I was watching the concert of Michael Jackson in Bucharest that day. It was something random. I don't know what inspired me that day to watch that concert. And as I was watching it, it came to that song, Heal the World. And I was feeling everything that he was singing about, and the message that he was conveying to the crowd, and the energy that the crowd was sending back to him. And it was there was something beautiful about it. And that's the day I decided that I was really going to go into music. That's when the call happened. And ever since, I always wanted to write a song in that sense, heal the world. So when we were trying to come together with Lauren to write a song, I already had a song that I prepared, and she was like, "No, we should write."
No,
I'd like to hope that I was gracious about it, you know.
Okay. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but she suggests that we write about something that is present, something that will help people in this time that we are all going through. And I was like, damn, this is something I always wanted to write and sing about since that day, watching Michael Jackson on my little screen. So we got together and we started writing. And I'm like, it was a very joyful moment for me because it brought that thing that I've been forgetting about, like writing a song that inspires people, songs that inspire people, songs that bring people together, songs that make our world a better place, as Michael Jackson would say. So yeah, it was a very, very, very healthy in a sense for me to be in that session with Lauren. It went easy because she was writing, but and I was on my guitar, and it was like a beautiful session coming together. That connection with the song, and yeah, it happened like that, and I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Me too.
Yeah. Lauren, you're making dreams come true.
I love it. That's my calling.
Like diamonds in the night, a sky of stars, revealing every treasure in your heart. Let them pour out, for the world can use some.
Yeah. 10 years later, isn't it interesting, like how we have to wait often for these things, where you're like, because Sergio, you've been pursuing it in the interim, right? And then you even had a different song in mind, and then to have we've got different words for that, right? That kind of synergy that happens. Because how did you two haven't known each other for that long, right? And was that the first collaboration that you had done? Yeah. What was we got you together on the podcast today. So what drew, and because if we can think of these connections, because I think it's always very interesting of here's two people that want to contribute to healing the world through music, and how did you meet, and then you to this point where you write Glimmers and you're making music together?
Well, we both met at an artist showcase in Hollywood, at a really lovely venue. And we hadn't met or known that the other existed up to that point. It was a slow night. And there weren't a lot of people in the audience that night. But I was also curious to hear, some of the other performers. I went on before Sergio did that night. In fact, Sergio was last that night. And so that was another long night.
Long night, yeah, exactly.
But I wanted to stick around because I'm just like, man, the folks who went before me were really talented. The folks who came after me were really talented. And so I wanted to stay to the end to see who's next, because I'm a lover of people. I'm a lover of music, and and also, I felt because the room was pretty empty that night. I was just like, oh, like I want to support the other artists. Like there's nothing worse than being prepared to perform in front of a group of people, and there's like one or two people there, and they're distracted with conversation, or or eating or drinking, and you're pouring your heart out on the stage to that's not the best feeling. I've been there. And so, I wanted to stick around. And as soon as I heard Sergio's voice and him playing, I was like, wow, this guy's really talented. And I loved his sense of humor and just his energy. He had a beautiful spirit. I mean, he has a beautiful spirit. But I observed that night, oh, this guy has a beautiful spirit. And, and so, after his performance, we connected, exchanged information. It's like, man, I'd love to collaborate with you. And that's kind of how things started. Yeah.
And I would add something to it. I was almost leaving already. I packed everything in the back of my car, and she came out through the door, and she was leaving as well. And that's when it was the final approach to say goodbye. And that's when we decided that we were going to come together and make something happen. And I'm like, that was not like just out of nowhere. It was meant to happen at that moment. Because I'm not sure we would have got together to write that song if I left before she came out of the door. So that's a little more details.
Yeah. There's something about that face to face, and speaking to Lauren's reference to physics, quantum physics, and this energy exchange that for many was like deemed as kind of woo woo, but then of course we experience it all the time. You just walk into a place and it either makes you feel nervous, or it makes you feel safe, or it makes you feel like excited, or feels or a person has that. But then so amazing that you shared that, and that really comes across. So to all the listeners, that song just stayed in my head. So which popular music can do, right? Pop music can just like really really grab you, and just the message, there's always a silver lining, look for the glimmers of hope, that somewhere the sun is shining.
There's always a silver lining, look for the glimmers around you, somewhere the sun is shining, just fix your eyes on the light and you won't feel the dark.
So, and again, I'm not saying I don't prep before this. It's not like I was like reading, but that's just in my head. It's always a silver, it's in there, right? That you, because of that musical offering, like how it was presented, like I can access that kind of whenever, just in my head and heart, that recall that there's been a transformation in me because of what you created, having seen it live, which was amazing. And then, to see it in the various offerings that you have online. There's some great like lyric videos and some things out there on YouTube for those of you that want to watch. I'm curious. I don't know. I never know where these questions are going to go, but before we move on to the next one, I just want to hear this in case it doesn't come up later. What would be, I don't know how to ask this. I'm thinking of an experience. So I'll start with my experience, I guess, and then kind of parlay that into a question. So 2 weeks ago, maybe, I was doing an open mic and I didn't know what I was going to play. It was like 30 minutes before, and I had the opportunity to play 2 songs. And I was just like, okay, maybe I'll play. And I decided I was going to play a song that I had written over 20 years ago. And it was uh, about a very challenging relationship, like in my life, that had caused me and has and continues. It's a difficult relationship. And I wrote this song like in my early 20s, and I'd never performed it live. I had played it various times. Two years ago, or in the last 2 years, I wrote. It's funny, I can have that song for so long, and then all of a sudden another a verse, and um, I don't know, somebody else with better knowledge of song structure could tell me if there was a, change to the chorus. It kind of, I don't know if it's like a reprise, or I don't, as the song kind of went out, it told a story that didn't stay where it started, which I was able to do as I grew, which I couldn't do, the decades before. Like, and I performed it, and I really thought, because most of the time when I'm nervous, I'll like just like the lyrics will be like, I don't know, they're not in my head or like whatever file they're in, they're like, I'll just like have a almost like a blackout moment where I'm like, I don't know what happened to my fingers, like what chord was supposed to happen next, what lyric, and I was pretty concerned that I was going to have like a more significant one instead of just like oh, I forgot that line, or I forgot the timing a little bit. I just was like, I don't know how this is going to go, but I'm going to do it. And I did it, and something happened in the sharing of that song that I had never experienced. So I know there was a connection with I'm going to say everybody in the room, whether that's literally true. There was that energy exchange, because people could relate to we all have those kind of painful, hard relationships that we wish were different. But I like got to the point where I was even like kind of, when you're having a good cry and you're like, this is like, so I'm playing and like, just like tears are coming down. And then I get to the like third line of the song and I'm like, like I couldn't say the lyric, not because I couldn't remember it. It was because I was having one of those genuine cries where you're just like, and I was like, I've never seen somebody sob up on stage while performing. And here I am, which I was really like, I wasn't feeling happy in the moment, but there was a pride, there was something that was happy, because I think as an artist, for me anyway, when a goal is like, I just really want to be present to the song. And that's what I've been trying to do in my open mic, is just be present with, and I'm largely not succeeding at that, and mostly just kind of, it's just those reps. Like I'm just considering it's like I'm going to the gym and this is going to be awkward. In the future it's going to be much better, but right now this is just going to be, thanks everybody for hanging with me. But there was something like transcendent that kind of happened. There, it was like a healing moment that I never could have happened if I hadn't played that. Obviously I had to be present to myself, but if I wasn't within a room of people sharing, like that never would have happened. And so my question is somewhere in that, like, what have you had experiences like that, or do you have beliefs about when we talk about this energy exchange? So you write the songs, but there's something like magic that happens in the sharing.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I think that the creative process all the way through is magic. I mean, even when you talk about writing songs, I mean, you literally walk into a room that's silent, and you walk out with something to share. I think that there's something magic in that process, and but then when it does come to the sharing, because when we write, we're writing from the place of our humanity. We're telling stories, we're expressing our emotions, and transmitting our thoughts to others through song. And yeah, I mean, it's really powerful, because no one is going through anything in isolation, as much as it may feel that way. Where there is a common human thread, of experience that many of us share, maybe to different degrees, but like you said, we've all had an experience with a difficult relationship, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something in the sharing, because, in what other way would you have, and other than maybe therapy, would you have actually shared your real feelings out loud?
Yeah. Yeah.
But then to do so in a room full of people who, whether you are consciously aware of it or not, are also empathizing with your experience. There's the individual healing process that takes place in the sharing, but then there's the collective healing that takes place in the process of sharing, because those people that are listening, maybe it might be the first time that they realize, like, oh, I'm not alone in this experience, or like, man, I didn't realize that someone else could feel as deeply as I do about this thing, about this subject. It's for the same reason why, group homes and AA are effective for people who are, healing from addictions of various types, But I think there's another layer that happens when it comes to song and music, because music, I think by nature is somewhat spiritual. And so it's not just an intellectual processing or just an emotional processing. There's something that's a little bit intangible and beyond us that is taking place as well in that exchange. That's where the woo-woo comes in,
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up, I was definitely thinking that like the 12 steps, that being witnessed, like, so I was tracking with you. Sergio, what are your thoughts about the...
I've listened to what Lauren just said, and I don't think I have that much to add to it, in the sense that it has happened multiple times with me as well. And listening to what Lauren just said explains it better, so that I can understand what actually happens at those moments. Because I'm just like you, Elle.
I'm like, I don't know.
I know.
But it is true that creating music is not just like something random. It is something, from my experience, I surrender to it, and it happens. It happens. And I am just like a canal to share whatever is it that the greater me or the universe want to share or want to transmit to other people. So I surrender to that moment, that creation, and it happens. So when it comes to sharing it with other people, it brings back those same feel that you were feeling when you were writing it. Like, even if you're not crying at that moment, it is because you are very conscious about it. But when it comes to sharing it, you're not really conscious about like what's gonna happen. Like, you're not very prepared. You're not really prepared to whatever is coming your way, because at that moment you're just letting it out.
Yeah.
So it can bring out emotions that you're not prepared for. So,
Thank you. Okay. Okay. Wow. Okay. So, second question. What do you think it means to live your healthiest life?
Man.
Easy peasy.
No pressure.
Of course.
No, I mean, I think for me personally, living my healthiest life looks like living in alignment with the most authentic version of myself.
Yeah,
And
preach. Yeah.
when I say the most authentic version of myself, that version is the version is um, that is operating in integrity with my core beliefs. Yeah, and so that's what it means to me to live my healthiest life, and it's something that I'm it's a process, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
because and a lot of it comes down to unlearning, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
because there's so much that we're programmed with without our knowledge, and then we awaken to like, oh, wait a minute, this doesn't match, me and what I want for my life and where I'm headed and who I am, and so like, okay, well, how do we unlearn what we've learned, and where do we find the knowledge that we need in order to transform those things that are not yet aligned. And so but yeah, that's what it means for me.
Right. That sounds beautiful.
He's like, he's just gonna come after you every time, just be like, what she said. She is so articulate. Yeah.
I think too much.
It's all right. It's not always a bad thing.
True.
I never said that it was a bad thing. But yeah,
You said always.
to answer your question, Elle, the question is, what do you think it means to live your healthiest life? For me, it is about, I'll use the same word as Lauren, being aligned with your core values. As long as the values that you have do not ruin. Ruin is a strong word, but like it doesn't bring bad things to other people. Like it is not just about yourself.
Right.
Because presenting your best self, what does that mean? Presenting your healthiest self to the world, what does that mean? It first means that like you're feeling better in your body. That's the first thing. The second thing, like mentally, where are you? Are you healthy? What can you do to be healthy in that sense? Are you, when it comes to mental stuff, are you practicing some, I would say, meditation or whatever it is that helps you be the best of yourself mentally? It is also about emotion. That's the third aspect that I think of. How are you reacting to things in your life? That's, I would say those three help you bring the best version of yourself, the healthiest version of yourself, and presenting that to the world. Mm-hmm. So living your health, my bad, living your healthiest life is about bringing the best of yourself and sharing it with the world to create something beautiful. Mm-hmm. If that answers your question at all.
I think it does it all. Yeah. I feel a kindredness, like obviously I have a podcast about living your healthiest life. So I think it's important in that so I spend a lot of time thinking about it, Laura. And so it's like, just like a lot of time thinking about it. And to me, it seems, yeah, like that it's my greatest gift to the world is like me being my healthiest version.
Right.
And Sergio, like you brought in a couple things that, because somebody could take that in immaturity,
right,
and just be all about them. And we see that. You can find examples. You don't have to search too hard in your daily life to find people that are, I'm using air quotes if you're just listening. There's somebody that's really, healthy, but they're fairly toxic in how they're not concerned, they're not communally minded. Um, there's so many you can think, like environmentally would be like a big like example where you're like, oh, I'm being really healthy, and then I'm just disposing my trash, or I'm, onto to other persons. And so I think we've got a lot of the core elements here, the fundamental things, and then Sergio, you can visualize maybe like a Venn diagram, of the body, mind, and our emotions or our heart. And I love having spirituality in there too. And it sounds like Lauren
Mhm.
would probably have that circle in there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I would
go
say
ahead.
for me, when it comes to the spiritual aspect of things, that's where we get into like how is it that our the healthiest version of ourselves interacts with the world around us. Our relationships, healthy? Are
Yeah.
we interacting with nature in a healthy way?
Hmm.
Not just consuming it, but how are we
Hmm.
participating in the flourishing of everything around us? Because I mean, maybe that's at the heart of it. It's flourishing,
Hmm.
you know,
Flourishing.
flourishing internally and helping what's outside of us to flourish also.
Hmm.
We're all gardeners.
Ooh, we're
you
all
know,
gardeners. I love that. I love that.
you know.
Um,
Are we going back to Eden?
Yeah, let's make it. Let's do
yes, let's do
it.
it. Let's do
I'm
it.
I'm not going with you.
I
You're
feel
not
like,
coming.
yeah,
What are you talking
yeah.
about? That's paradise.
Somebody else is living in there already.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah, like lots of beautiful imagery there. Like if we think of, so if we take the metaphor of like the world or our lives as, maybe the world around us that we interact with as a garden, and we're a gardener, there's elements there that metaphor would bring out, like nurturing, right? That you would need sufficient sun, we need water, we need nutrients. They need enough space. The soil, needs to be healthy to have air. The nutrients, we need to have proper drainage. We need to tend it. And probably one of the hardest things for me is like learning to trim things, like to cut things back. Like that's
Mm.
um but yeah, I mean, whew, I would love, even we could even like link that back to kind of like Glimmers, because you wrote a very hopeful song together. And what and we just, you touched on it just kind of briefly, like, oh, the times that we're in, like um what is my question? Like what needs to be tended? What are we fighting against, like with a song like Glimmers, sorry.
All right. To answer your question, thank you for the question.
Mhm.
And what are we fighting against? First, I would say we're fighting against ourselves first,
Mm.
because we cannot be fully prepared to fight an external world if when we haven't won the battle within. I don't know if it makes sense,
Well, tell us
because
more what that means to you. I mean, I have my thoughts. What does that mean to you, like that battle within?
inside we have all these negative things happening that we need to deal with before we step outside and try to fight anything else. let's say, for example, myself, I do have my demons. We all have, at some point, we have those dark things within us that we need to conquer. So that's what we're fighting first with those lyrics. So well written by Lauren. Every day when I wake up in the morning, I listen to that song. I listen to that song because it helps me realize that I need to win myself first. And then whatever it is out in the world that is happening and that is negative, like it can be the system, how it's been set up to just take more and more out of people without really giving it back to them. It is about like trying to inspire more people to share the kindness with other people in need. That's what we're fighting against. Like, because at this point, to be honest, our society is so, I would say, individualistic that we forget that there are other people going through stuff. So if we can come back to ourselves and realize that, the society that we're living in is I'm not saying that I'm here to change the world, but if we can, like, each of us win that battle and give to the society and bring out a better way of living in this system that has been created, it will be great. It will be great if, like, that answers your question, of course.
Yeah, no, it absolutely does, and you come back to the communal aspect again. But it's like the starting with ourself and then the individualism. That's so on point.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's sort of a like protection. I'm not sure if this is going to land on an actual word. Like there's such a like protectionistic is what I want to say. Mentality, I think, is like, I think we're at a time where a lot of people are vulnerable, and people have been vulnerable for a long time. And right now there are people that are making grabs at power and resources to the contrary of what we're talking about, to their own personal gain and to the people around them. It's kind of this preservationistic, if I just keep using that, that is so I don't know, is it cancerous? Like it's just really, but it's very fear provoking, right? And it seems like we have to decide what to do about it. And maybe we'll get into a little bit of in the next question, because it seems like there's many paths we can choose right now, but it seems like there's two really big ones. One is that you're just going to hoard resources for yourself and build your bunker. Like there's literally people building bunkers and things. Like, is that, and I've got multiple years supply of food in here, like this kind of thing. Or I'm just going to take care of my people, or I'm going to go out and do things. And I'm really grateful for art right now because, music being an expression of art for me has brought me to open mics, and I've met people like you, and I found so much catharsis in this time, which, and you talked about this, Sergio, like just being in service to things, or and I think Lauren, I don't want to put word in your mouth, but I'm feeling this synergy of that you would believe, and you can, yeah, tell me otherwise as we dialogue here, but like, because how do you become your authentic self? It is just kind of like a participating, right? There has to be like this listening and participating, and that's led me to just go really heavy into open mics right now. And then there's been all this catharsis and connection in places that I didn't think was going to happen with the two of you, case in point, and giving me the gift of Glimmers, that song, you know, to the listeners, please like listen. Such a beautiful song. Is there anything you want to say about that, Lauren?
Yeah, I mean, I think that fear is very loud right now in it is atmospherically, you know, and a lot of that has to do with, you know, media and algorithms and, you know, because there are those that would take advantage of the vulnerability of others and try to grab at power at the expense of the vulnerable. You know, I mean, that you know, the reality is that there's a lot to be fearful of. However, we're quick to forget that we need each other. You know, that we're not in this reality alone and in isolation. You know, it feels that way because we spend a lot of our energy looking into screens instead of looking into one another's eyes. And, you know, there's a lyric that I wrote in another song called Alone. And the lyric is, everyone's connected, but no one is connecting. And I think that it's in our connection and in our intentionality about healing ourselves and operating in integrity with who we say we are. It's that, and also making ourselves available to be a safe place for others. I think that's where the real healing resides, you know, and I think that's the space that Glimmers was birthed from, is, you know, it's that principle of like confirmation bias. You know, it's like the things that you focus on will expand. And so if we continue to focus only on the fear and on how wrong things are going, the more things will continue to go wrong and the more we will have to fear. But if we can, however small, if we can look for those little moments of joy, those little moments of beauty, those little moments of goodness, the more that we focus on those things, the more they will also expand. You know, and the more we operate from this place of gratitude for what is, the goodness that is, the more we can grow the goodness, for lack of a better.
Back to our gardener metaphor.
Yeah.
And
yeah, and also, you know, it does come down to taking some personal responsibility, you know, because our default is to put our heads in the sand and like, oh, well, that's not our problem, you know. Oh, well, that so sucks that they're going through that. Too bad, you know. But if we are cultivating empathy, you know, if we're cultivating a heart for the other, you know, if we're able to identify, you know, there's something in you that reminds me of me, you know, and the more I learn to love me, the more I can love you.
Yeah, amen.
And so, you know, we you know, it was kind of a call to action in a very small way of just like, hey, look for the glimmers around you. You know, somewhere the sun is shining. Just fix your eyes on the light and you'll conquer the dark, you know. But we have to conquer the dark individually and collectively. And so, and bringing it back to the beauty of music, particularly popular music, because it's based on the masses listening, you know. And so the more people are able to get that, to ingest that message, to take in that seed and water it.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I mean, and it's occurring to me like that Glimmers is not only beautiful and accessible, but it's like an instruction manual. You know, you're like preaching in the song.
Yeah.
And so not only is it a resource, like you've given this gift of, oh, just listen to the song, and I love hearing like Sergio that that's like something that you're even as somebody involved in the creation of the song that it's meaningful to you and that you come back to. So you have that, and then for the person that actually meditates on the lyrics, that is okay, the song makes me feel good. And oh, well, if I pay attention to that, oh, maybe I can look around and I can see like the way the lights, coming through the window and the blinds, and like, oh, that looks kind of nice. And oh, look at that. Yeah, that plant. Oh, it's got really cool, you can like just look at it's just all around, right? Whether it's a bird or a flower, and everybody has that. Or even I think a lot even about our breath right now. Like even if everything was really bad, I'm like, how basic can I get? And it's been very, very cool to get to a place where I'm like quiet enough. I'm like, oh, I think with the breath, I can feel like my cells buzzing. And then I'm just feeling like the miracle of my body, and that, oh, that's accessible anywhere. Like I can be in a nervous space. And so thank you for preaching and glimmers and bringing it to the masses. So Sergio and Lauren, what are you currently learning about living your healthiest life?
Currently, I would say, what am I learning about living my healthiest life? Lately, I've started, let's say, journaling. Yes. I've never done that before. I started, let's say, a week ago. So the reason why I started is that I did some research about how I heard the word somewhere, like journaling. And then I went and did some research about it. And it's been helping me, like writing every night before bedtime. And what it is showing me so far is that it reflects back what are the things that I am doing. Like it shows me some patterns in my day-to-day behaviors. And does that align with the healthiest version of me? Do I want to continue having those patterns? If I do, if those patterns align with the healthiest version of myself, then I continue with those patterns. But for those who do not align with the version of myself that I want to attain, I just discard them. So I take the best and I leave out the ones that are not serving the healthiest version of myself. So journaling is something that is helping me like bring out like those good things of within myself. So that's one thing. Like it is like mirroring effects. Like you see yourself in the mirror through journaling, and you ask yourself certain questions to help you have clarity about like, where am I going? What do I have to do? Where do I find the resources from within myself to achieve this or that? So that's what I've been learning lately. Thank you.
That's really good.
Thank you.
I love it. And I love it's fresh. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Lately, personally, I've been in a space of kind of taking inventory of the various aspects of my life. And, you know, I do a lot of like visualization. And so I'll, you know, it's part of my meditation practice is I'll sit and I'll visualize like, okay, the best version of me, you know, like what does she look like? You know, what does she smell like? How does she conduct herself? What does she eat? What does her environment feel like? You know, and then, you know, once I've done that, I take inventory of, you know, I open my eyes, I look around, I'm like, okay, you know,
Contrasting.
so that's where she is. And this is where we are today. How do we get closer to that? You know, and you know, part of it is learning to listen to my intuition about certain things. Like, for instance, as it pertains to my physical health, you know, there's some different challenges that I'm trying to overcome and work through. And I kept having this thought internally, like, you need to eat more vegetables. You need to eat more fruits. You need to get better at hydrating, you know. But, you know, I wouldn't listen because I also really like certain things, you know. And so, you know, not that I dislike fruits and vegetables, but, you know, like certain things I kind of like a bit more if I have the choice, you know. You know, like, I prefer this, you know, but then I have to, you know, stop myself and say like, okay, well, I may prefer this today, but the woman I'm becoming prefers that. And so if that's what she prefers and that's who I'm trying to step into and embody, you know, then maybe we should listen to her, you know. And she says we need more vegetables. And so how can we integrate more vegetables into our daily life, you know? And no judgment for, you know, the moments when I have something that I prefer. But, you know, it's like, okay, we can have that for now, but this is our truth. This is our reality. And learning how to operate with a greater level of discipline so that I can be more in alignment with who it is that I believe I'm meant to be. And so that's been a fun lesson. But also, you know, it's put me in this place of taking a step back and like, okay, well, why is this your preference? You know, if this is a reflection of something you're moving away from, let's understand why this is what we prefer. And okay, well, you know, really the reason why we prefer this is because for us it represents connection, or for us it represents, you know, like, you know, quick example, you know, there are things that my family eats on holidays that we only eat on holidays because, well, because they're really bad for us. They're very unhealthy, but they're so delicious. But we only eat them on holidays, and it's kind of like, oh, treat yourself kind of experience.
Celebrate, yeah.
But, you know, the question that I started asking myself is like, okay, if we know this is unhealthy for us, you know, why is it that that's the treat? You know, why is it that, you know, if this is something that is ultimately, you know, if we were to have this on a regular basis, it will harm us, you know, like we, you know, and historically, you know, culturally, it has harmed us to eat this way, you know. Why do we celebrate that, you know? You know, why is the treat the thing that's harming us rather than the thing that would bring us closer to health? you know. And so I don't know, these are the meanderings of my mind as I'm navigating, you know, leaning into the healthier and healthiest version of myself. You know, these are the questions that have been coming up for me and the things that I've been learning. It's like, okay, well, how can we reprogram that default? You know, this is a default setting that, you know, we have to go in and customize for who we're becoming. And so that's what I've been learning. Is like, okay, how do I integrate more discipline into my life? And also, how do I reframe, you know, the preferences that I have to align with, you know, the person that I'm efforting to become, the healthiest version of myself.
Lovely.
Yeah.
As always.
Right? Just okay. All right, we're done. I got all the answers now.
Hilarious. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, both of you are, you know, there's this talking about the movement, right? That we're not static, that we can get in these ruts, but our thought process is surrounding how we show up in life matter and how we're reflecting on our life. So journaling or meditating and doing this visualization. So both of you are describing well, I'm here now, like there's looking back. So Sergio talking about like, well, what happened today, right? So and here I am now reflecting on that. Do I want to carry that forward? And then, yeah, if you're doing that day over day, right, you're going to start to see the patterns of thoughts you're having or behaviors. And then Lauren with the visualizing that forward. And I'm imagining, have you had times where you visualize something and you've experienced it happen?
Mm-hmm. All the time. All the time.
Yeah.
That's like the craziest thing ever. Like, yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you.
No, go ahead.
No, you're not cutting, you're contributing. Talk to us about visualization, Sergio.
No. I was just like trying to say that it happens all the time. Like it's strange how powerful visualization.
Yeah, that's it. We got it. How it is. The
visualization can be like. Yeah. Something happened like back in 2020 where I was visualizing, or I was doing some visualization and it came through like different people. I wanted all these things. I was visualizing 3 things and I wanted them from one person. But the weird thing is that they came through 3 different people. Mm-hmm. And what I want to say in that sense is that when you're doing your work of visualization, you have to be very specific and not just visualize thing like just in the air. Don't do that. Be very specific when you're doing that work of visualization. And that's it.
No, I think that's true. And I think Lauren talk to us about that because you're embodying that. So talk to us about it.
The exciting thing about it is, I mean, you know, we've been granted this gift of imagination, right? You know, and it was something that, you know, as children, you know, we embodied it fully. You know, a cardboard box can be a pirate ship. You know, you know, a stick can be, you know, a sword or a magic wand, and we were perfectly content, you know, with this using our imaginations to create worlds that were unseen from with the naked eye, you know. And, you know, it's similar to even the process of songwriting. You know, that's why I have this songwriting newsletter that I curate called Pen Alchemy. And it's about the magic of writing. But basically, you're taking something that you're envisioning in your mind, and, you know, I strongly believe that there are people that have, especially creative people, that have special gifts. You know, I mean, you know, back to the woo woo. You know, whether it's, you know, clairaudience or clairsentience. You know, where, you know, we're able to pull from this invisible realm that seems like nothing, and create something real from, you know, what has yet to be seen. You know. But that's the process of creativity. You know, it's using our imagination to make the unseen seen, and felt and heard and experienced. And so I truly believe, just as a principle, that's something that we're meant to use in our everyday life, you know, to see things, as though they were, you know. And to then take actions to align ourselves with what it is that we saw, you know. And, you know, and sometimes it happens intentionally, you know, and sometimes, you know, like, I feel like our dreams are also a part of that. You know, the things that we dream about are, you know, yes, some of them are just projections of what our subconscious is experiencing, you know, but then I think it's also sometimes, you know, God or the universe, or, you know, that the unseen trying to make itself known to us, so that we can then help it to cross that bridge into the, you know, what is seen and tangible and experienced. And so, yeah, it happens to me all the time.
Well, yeah, I mean, because, yeah, I mean, you talked about like all kinds of senses. You were like, what? So I feel like using your senses is such a helpful way to make it specific. To Sergio's point, you got to be in this. I mean, maybe the two of you have sat with this longer. To me, this is pretty new to think of my future self, and not just like, I want a house, but like,
Right.
no, I want, and like get very specific. Like, what does, like, where are the windows? Where's the light coming in? What kind of plant, you know, is there jasmine out front? Is there, where's the lavender? Like, where's the, like, what are you feeling? Like, what's the couch feel like? Is there like a fuzzy blanket? Is there, what are you hearing? Are there bird songs? Like, what's happening? Are there children playing in the distance? Like, what do you hear? Like, that seems to me, and I'm open to if you guys are like, no, but like, that seems like a secret, like, unlocking to a whole different level of being, because when I dreamt or thought about the future, it was always like, oh, this is what I'll do for work. This is what I'll, you know, I'll have a partner that's like loving and care. No, but like, what is your partner going to be like? Do they give you foot massages? Do they, what kind of flowers do they bring home? Like, what are they making on the kitchen stove? Like, what does that Italian food smell like? You know, what kind of like spices, you know, or the soul food or whatever they're, that seems so specific. And I have found, and this is the real, there's that like, whoa, I don't do that. And then I find that there's kind of like a barrier. Because it seems to me that life has conditioned to me. We talked about the system earlier and kind of fighting the system. The system, it seems, wants to tell me what to dream, right? And so like I abdicated that like capacity that I had in my childhood to be like specific, that I became divorced from what I really wanted, you know, and I have this practice right now of thinking and noticing what I just really enjoy. And that we often can feel kind of silly if somebody saw how excited we were about I'm trying to think, something happened yesterday. It's not in the front of my brain, but does that feel like a lesson that we have to learn, like how to be specific in our
Absolutely.
desires?
Absolutely. But also I think listening to those, because that's part of listening to your intuition, is like that excitement, that joy, I feel like that's a God-given like tuning fork to let you know you're on the right track to where you're supposed to go. I feel like having a joy-led life, is really important. Like what it is. Oh yes, that little, that little glee, that little twinge of excitement that you get. Like there's something to that, and there's a reason why you have that visceral response. Is because like, yes, this is a yes, this is an absolute yes. But I think it's kind of like, to use a different example when it comes to specific visualization. It's like how do you know when you've made it to Disneyland if you don't know what it looks like? Or if you've never, if you've never had a feeling of what that looks like or what it's like, so, there's specific things that separate Disneyland from Knott's Berry Farm or SeaWorld or the library. They can all be very good, and even in our visualization, if we're just trying to capture a feeling or an emotion or a state, we can accomplish that state in a variety of ways, But when we get specific about our visualization, and granted, it's not always going to come or look the way, and to Sergio's point, it's not always going to look the way that we assume it does, but we can get really close and we'll know that we've made it because there will be a yes in our spirit, there will be a rejoicing, for example, I don't know why, but when I was in high school, I was really obsessed with real estate. And, it was important for me to be a homeowner. And I think for my brain at the time, I was like, I can't justify spending, $1,000 plus a month to live somewhere if I don't actually hold the deed. Like if I don't own it, that's a lot of money to hand someone every month, just to live somewhere. I need shelter. And so that was my logic. And I didn't know how I was going to make that happen. I'm in high school, and, and I've always done music and I don't know if you know anything about, having a creative profession, but, it's not always stable financially, it's definitely not the choice you make if you want to, if you're trying to build wealth, it definitely is best as a calling. Yeah. And so I had no idea how I was going to become a homeowner. I had my sights set on this house that was around the corner from my parents' house. And at the time which is nowadays it would be a deal, but at the time it was for sale for like $1.7 million. And I'm like, I got a few $100s in my bank account, I don't know how
Give me
I'm
the
gonna
pen. I'm like,
I don't know how I'm gonna make this happen, but like I was determined, like I'm gonna be a homeowner, and I do want this house. And I remember even at one point, one of the things that I did just as a touch point, was like I would go to the open houses frequently. Like they'd have open houses to show that, and I'd go walk around the house and like, oh yeah, and I could do this here and I could do that there, and and at one point I'd even like taken a bit of soil from the front yard and put it in a little baggie, and I put it next to my nightstand, and I would, I'd like have a mantra or something or affirmation that I would say, over the soil, like, yeah, I'm claiming this house is mine, Now I didn't get that house, at least I haven't yet.
Not yet. Okay.
But, I mean, it just so happened, 2008 came around. This is like 7 or 8 years after I graduated high school. And the market turned and I was able to buy a condo. Now the story to how I got there was wild because at the top of that year, I I didn't have any money. But by the summertime, I had a condo.
Wow.
But I attribute a lot of that to, the visualization and the determination and also taking action steps to get me closer to the vision, and, I still have that property today, and it's been an absolute blessing. And even in being here, throughout the years, I've discovered, what I like to call like little God winks, like little things that are particular to me, that that I hadn't accounted for in the process, like the street that I live on. My favorite color is purple, and I love flowers. I was gonna tell you earlier, I love your shirt. But and it just so happened that the name of the street that I live on means purple flower,
Okay.
or I love to go on hikes. I love to be in nature, and I used to think that I had to drive miles away to go and do Runyon Canyon or Coldwater, like the Tree People, or one of these other hiking trails. And I came to discover, this is after like 5 years of living in my place, like, oh, there's a hiking trail just right up the road. You drive for 10 minutes, and you have a hiking trail. You're right in the mountains. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. And just little things that are just like, that means so much to me. That I hadn't factored into like the process of like, oh, I'm gonna get a home. I'm gonna have a house, and and so from that point, I realized like, oh wow, the power of my mind, the power of my imagination, and the power of taking informed action towards those things. There really is something to that. I mean, sure, it doesn't look like that $1.7 million house that I wanted, but it's a house and it's mine. And there are all these really special things about, the house and the location that are so meaningful to me, and so I think there's something to that, and I feel like we can use that for leveling up in our own existence, for becoming better versions of who we are. I think that's important.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Clearly, I have a lot to say.
We're getting the infusion of all the
take it.
Take
it.
It's all interesting and important. So
thank you.
That's what I'm thinking here. All right.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
It's so true. And I hear like embedded in what you're sharing too is the balance between what you're doing, like the visualizing that you're doing and the initiative that you're taking. And there's a framework of when you look at the world, there's a benevolence there. There's like a capacity for these to happen, and things like God winks. I love that, and that even like your view of God there is that God's kind of like, right?
Yeah.
Like
I knew you would like that.
Yeah, looking for ways to say, like that little hug. And I love the glee. Oh my goodness. I'm like, and when you said that, I was like, as somebody, songwriters, right? We're thinking about words, and I was like, when's the last time I said glee? I was like, oh, we're gonna shift out joy on a number of occasions and insert glee.
Yes.
Glee just has that. Like the fall. Yeah, exactly. There's like a higher, because joy can be there's kind of like can be a tranquility to joy, right? Like joy in the heart, but glee like is this, like this bubbling over kind of effervescent kind of joy. So, all right. Let the people know, what is something that you wish people knew more about living their healthiest lives?
All right. What do I wish people know about living their healthiest life? Well, to answer that question, I'll say The first thing that comes to mind when I hear that question is, you see, most of the time, I mean, not most of the time, but it happens in life that we're going through, not in life, every day. I'll say every day to make it more like easier. Every day, it might comes that something negative happened. Let's say you wake up in the morning and you step outside and you run into someone with a really negative mood and they did something to you, right? And you're going to work or you're going somewhere. You don't want to carry that through the day. Like, it is not something that you want to be thinking about like the entire day. So you can process it for not an eternity. Don't like dwell in that moment so that it ruins your entire day. You can learn something from it, from that situation, and see if there is something that you take from it to serve you that day. For me, that's what I call alchemy. Like,
Okay, I wondered if you were going to bring up alchemy. Okay, good. I'm glad. Okay. Because I want to hear more about your thoughts about it.
It is taking something and making like something good out of it, bringing the best out of it. Like, it is not just that, it can be anything in your life. So it is just the act of not dwelling in negative frequencies, negative experiences. Just take the time, process it, process the situation, and make something good out of it. Like, that's how I live my life, like day to day, on a day-to-day basis. Like, I don't let negative stuff like ruin my day. No. So that's something I would love if I would love people to learn about living your healthiest life. And also, it depends on the situation of everybody else. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Lauren?
Here's looking at you, kid.
Yeah.
What I wish people knew about living their healthiest life, or living your healthiest life, is that you can always you always have the choice to do so at any time, and whatever that looks like for you. Like, your healthiest life is your healthiest life. You know, I know a lot of people get caught up in comparison, especially with social media. Like, oh, that person is so healthy, or that person is so this or that. You know, but that might not be your healthiest life, you know, because obviously people are differently abled. People, you know, there's different body types. There's all sorts of differences, all of which make us beautiful and unique. And yeah, I just want people to know that they can choose moment by moment to live their healthiest life, whatever that looks like. Sometimes your healthiest life is, you know what, I know I have a to-do list that is through the ceiling today, but my body needs rest. And so I'm going to rest. I'll let tomorrow deal with itself. You know, sometimes that's what living your healthiest life is for today. And so, yeah. And yeah, don't judge yourself. There's no reason to feel guilty about taking what you need for the moment or for the day. Yeah, you can always choose. You always have the choice. You're never stuck. You're never really stuck. no matter how it feels, you're never stuck. You can always make a different choice.
As long as you don't feel frozen.
Exactly.
Not frozen in the snow.
Oh, don't call my name in vain.
Oh, sorry. It just was like low-hanging fruit on a pun.
Right.
Sorry.
So
You're right.
silly.
Yeah, so silly.
Just kidding.
I'm so grateful for you both taking the time to be on the podcast. I think there's so much richness in your sharing and the alchemization of all the lessons you've learned into songs like Glimmers, and just even how you're relating to people, right? So how you found each other, how we found each other, and I know that that's just going in so many other spheres of your life, that this is just a microcosm of that. Thanks for bringing attention to the it's I guess the vastness of health, but also the tangible nature of it, that it can be very practical, and like the need to uh, just look at all the various facets, right? And not to ignore certain ones, and how to bring that in. I don't think the word came up, but I hear embedded in how you are living your life is curiosity, right? That there's this openness. Oh, what can I learn from this? How can I change? And so much richness. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast, Lauren and Sergio. It's been such a joy.
It's
Been a
always
joy
like,
for us too.
Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Never. You're laughing already.
No, all I'm saying is just thank you for the opportunity to share. Thank you for being you, and for being so open-hearted, and also for creating, a platform where people can have these discussions, because it is important. It is important that we're learning how to live our healthiest lives. It's much needed. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
You're welcome. You're very welcome.
Comic
So-
relief.
What I want to say is the first time was so good. And I mean, the first time we met with you, Elle, it was good.
Yeah.
And we met a second time. And
That's right.
here we are spending hours talking about how it looks like living our healthiest life. I want to thank you for the conversation that you're allowing us to have. And we are not just like talking here. It is also a moment for us to learn from each other. And thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I mean, this is an obsession, I suppose, or a calling, which I am coming to terms with it as an obsession, and kind of being curious. Is that okay? Where are the good parts and the bad parts of this? But thank you so much. I will be very happy to connect people to you in whatever way you want to. So listeners, you can drop in the show notes. You can give a shout out real quick, either of you, if there's anything you want to draw attention to.
Go
Okay.
for it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not used to like selling myself like that, but I'll take the opportunity.
Just invite. We're not selling anything. We're inviting people into this magical healing work that is art and songwriting and human connection.
Well, I would invite people to definitely, if they're going through whatever they're going through, to listen to our song called Glimmers. And my name is Sergio Snow, and her name is Lauren Evans. We made that beautiful song, and we believe that if it can help us through some time, those times, it can help you as well. So go listen to it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And look for us on the socials. We're there, and we don't bite.
No, these are two friendly peeps.
Ah,
Well, thank you so much. To all my listeners, maybe you always see the blessing.
precious tears, like diamonds in the night, a sky of stars, revealing every treasure in your heart. Let them pour out, for the world can use some tenderness. When it all seems hopeless and all seems lost, when the pressures of life are just getting too hard, search for the ember, the tiniest glow, and surely you'll find your way home. There's always a silver lining. Look for the glimmers around you, somewhere the sun is shining. Just fix your eyes on the light and you won't fear the dark. Focus your eyes on the light and you'll conquer the dark. Eyes on the light, shining, shining.
Darling, tears falling on the soil beneath your feet, and one day there will grow a mighty tree, and it will feed all the souls that feel the way you do. When it all seems hopeless and all seems lost, pressures of life are just getting too hard. Search for the ember, the tiniest glow. Surely you'll find your way home. There's always a silver lining. Look for the glimmers around you, somewhere the sun is shining. Just fix your eyes on the light and you won't feel the dark. Your eyes on the light and you'll conquer the dark. Through the night, shining. Focus your eyes on the light. Shining so bright through the night. There's always a dark. On the light. Focus your eyes on the light and you conquer the dark.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the LYHL Podcast. I'm so glad you're here. If you liked what you heard, you can find me on Instagram and YouTube at the Elle, as well as on my website, www.theellebetrell.com. Of course, you can find me back here at the next episode of the LYHL Podcast. There's numerous ways to support my work so I can keep helping you live your healthiest life. You can do this financially via links on my website or the show notes, by subscribing to the podcast and YouTube channels, by joining my newsletter community, aptly named the LYHL Newsletter, by rating the podcast, by sharing with others, those you meet, and participating in coaching sessions. It's my passion to help you live your healthiest life. I'm so glad you're here. I'd love to hear your thoughts about what you're learning and the insights you're gaining from these conversations. May you always see the blessing.